Hello and welcome to Tokenomics. I'm Manisha Gupta. Well, the cryptocurrencies had a good run in 2023. Bitcoin, the world's largest cryptocurrency, rallied more than 150%, while Ether rallied about 80%. Cryptocurrencies also began 2024 on a stronger note, with Bitcoin hitting its highest level since April 2022. Here's what the experts are watching out for this year now. The cryptos already have received a boost, with the United States giving a green signal to Bitcoin ETF by investment firms. The next halving event of Bitcoin is set to take place in the month of April, which will cut the mining rewards by half. Ethereum also is set to upgrade that will make it more scalable. And then there are business leaders currently in Davos for the World Economic Forum, where they're also discussing the future of digital assets and cryptocurrencies. Well, to talk more about the space and, of course, Web3 and tokenization, joining us now to take this forward is Nischal Shetty. He's co-founder at Shadiam. Kashif Raza is co-founder Crypto Kanun, and Avinash Shekhar is co-founder and CEO at PI42 Exchange. Gentlemen, hi. Thank you so much for joining us, and a very happy 2024 to you. And what a start to the year. As expected, on expected lines, we have a Bitcoin ETF that has been launched now in the United States. Of course, it still is fragmented as far as rules and regulations go. This is only about US, but it clearly seems to be taking some lead, and the other countries watching out for it. I first want to begin with your sense on what really is the outlook 2024, and what is it that you will want to now watch out from here. Nischal, I'll begin with you. And a lot has changed in the last couple of years, from a crypto winter to strong gains in the previous year. How are you now venturing into 2024?
I think, like you rightly said, the year for at least the crypto sector has begun with a bang, I would say, with the ETFs getting approved. And not only was it just simply approved, but I think there were 11 ETFs launched in the US. And on day one, the trading volume surprised a lot of people with over $4 billion. And I think over the last week or so since they've been trading, I think they've crossed over $7 to $8 billion. And that's a market cap of, I think, close to $28 billion locked in these ETFs now. And that's a great sign for Bitcoin. The other next major event that everyone's looking forward to is the halving that would happen sometime in April, where I think the daily issuance of Bitcoin goes from the current 6.25 to less than 4, which will further, I would say, bring scarcity in the supply of Bitcoin. So overall, I think this year seems to be. Let's also not forget the whole regulatory aspect, where there's a lot of regulatory direction in the US, in India, and a lot of countries around the world. So I think regulations and the whole, I would say, the discovery of Bitcoin in the traditional financial markets through ETFs is going to sort of give a positive momentum for this entire sector. And we're all excited about that.
Oh, clearly, there is a lot of excitement on the table right now. And yes, there's a lot of conversation. There are two subjects that seem to be getting a lot of attention in Davos. One is, of course, AI, and the other is tokenization. And how would you look at that, Avinash? Because while India seems to be pushing or chugging ahead, when you look at the number of new companies that have come in for Web3, have kind of declined in 23 from what the number we saw in 2022.
Yeah, right. You're right, Manisha. So obviously 2024 is very, very exciting, I think, as far as the crypto ecosystem worldwide is concerned. But in India, we are, I think, still trying to work out on the regulation side in terms of how and these companies will be regulated. So that is one. And second is, I think, on the taxation side, I think, again, obviously, lots of issues in terms of TDS, set-off of losses, etc. So I think that's the reason why what is happening is that more and more innovation in Web3 space is happening outside India, and Indians are somehow not very clear that whether if they are in India and they innovate and they create like $1 billion Web3 company, what will happen from a regulation and taxation point of view. So I think that is something which is, I mean, obviously from our side, we are working with the government or trying to explain them. But I think that is one space on the regulation where I think as economy, we have to be really, really very quick in terms of giving clarity to the industry.
Absolutely. And that really takes me to the next question. And this one is to you, Kashyap, because we've seen some action happen from the Indian government on various things, whether it has been about the offshore exchanges, unregistered exchanges, or even some of the major apps, taking off, Apple, for example, taking off Binance, etc., from its Play Store. How would you read at these strings of actions?
Yeah, I think it's a positive news. In a sense that at some point of time this would have happened. At some point of time, most of the Indians who were trading on the offshore exchanges, there would have been a time where there would have been a crackdown. I think it has happened a bit earlier. People were not expecting it, and the best part is that FIU has not banned the offshore exchanges. FIU just said that you come forward and register with us, right? Because if all the Indian exchanges were compliant and they were following all the compliance that was required by FIU, if the Indians were moving out to offshore exchange and FIU said that okay, you also come and register with us, should be seen as a positive step, right? And I'm sure most of the offshore exchanges who have millions of users from India will not ignore India. Probably like exchanges like Binance and OKX, the biggest ones, they will probably come back and sit with the regulator and discuss things and probably might register themselves. That is what I see. And the moment that happens, that will open a floodgate for a lot of offshore exchanges to enter India, maybe set up a Indian entity here. And then what will happen that we will have a level playing field for all the players. And when there is a level playing field for all the players for international and Indian exchanges, then there will be a lot of competition happening. And we have seen it in the past when the industry flourish and when the foreign players and Indian players, they come in the industry, the ultimate benefit goes to the consumer, the user. So I think it's a good sign. Right now, people are a little apprehensive. I think somewhere the FIU and the government should have given some time to the international exchanges or offshore exchanges to register. Probably the action was taken in a jiffy, in a haste. More time should have been given to them, and also some time should have been given to the users also, that you have this much time to withdraw your funds maybe or to work out something else. Removing apps from the Play Store or Apple application store in a haste is probably not the right way to do it. And also you want to incentivize the users who are coming back from offshore exchanges to Indian exchanges by reducing the taxes also, because that was one of the root cause for people to move out to offshore exchanges. Yeah. I think that should have been also looked upon it. And probably we can discuss it further also.
Nishal, the other plus is that everything that happened, which Kashyap believes happened in good note, of course, it could have been with some timeline given, but there have been reports on how a lot of now these offshore participants are coming back into India. I mean, is that number fine on ground? I mean, have you also noted that?
If you mean to say about the users who were trading on offshore exchanges, I think the recent crackdown has definitely led them to move their assets over to exchanges that are compliant with the local regulations in India. And if you think about it, this is not new. We've seen this story play out in almost every country which is going ahead with regulation. Let's take US for example. Way back, I think in 2016, 2017, US did not have any specific guidelines. So anyone, anywhere in the world could build a crypto exchange and service US customers. Then in around, I think 2019, US laid down some guidelines, which also included registering a local entity in the US, following their AML KYC policies. And that led to a lot of exchanges setting up in the US, and then all these international exchanges stopping the US customers. So we're seeing a similar, and then it happened in Singapore, in a lot of other countries. And I think we are seeing a similar story play out in India, which is expected because every nation that wants to go towards regulation, the first step is going to be how do we ensure KYC and AML policies are taken care of by any of these products. And I think that will continue to grow as India also comes up with further guidelines. And for those guidelines to be meaningful, I think the first step is for India to also know who are the entities that are servicing the Indian customers. And I think that's this approach. And customers are also realizing that they would rather trade on platforms that are compliant and have no issues in the future in terms of their assets, rather than trade on exchanges which are not complying with the local regulations. So it's just playing out as it is playing out everywhere else, I think.
All right. So now, coming on another number, and this one is to you, Avinash. If you look at the investments, and this is the data that has come in from Taxon, it says that within Web3 as a sector for India in 2022, there was almost $76 million of investment that came in, while in 2023 that declined nearly 80% to around $22 million. So clearly that seems to be drying up as well. And a point that all of you are making is that there's a lot of offshore activity happening. A lot of people have moved out, new offices being opened outside India from Indians, and the Indian funding as well or investment as well seems to be drying up. Do you see that pickup happen in this year?
So again, I think 2023, obviously, there were two reasons for this number to go down. One was obviously from a regulatory point of view, as we discussed earlier.
Okay.
The second is obviously from a crypto market itself was not very good in 2023, basically, which is obviously in 2024, end of 2023, beginning 2024, it's picking up. So overall, I think globally the number will increase for sure. But how much it will translate into investment in India, that is still, I think, very, very doubtful. Unless we move very, very fast on the regulatory side. Obviously, FIU registrations, I think it's a welcome first step. But I think there is a lot more needs to be done in terms of clarity. For example, taxation, for example, if let's say a new company is established in India on a Web3 space, some clarity in terms of going forward as to what will the regulatory landscape will be there. So I think that is very, very important. And my worry is that if we delay it too much, we may be like missing the bus, so to say. On this space.
All right. That's one thing that we definitely do not want to do, especially with this space there. But gentlemen, stay on with us. We'll take a very short break, come back and talk more futuristic right now on where are we headed for 2024 and what are the latest developments, innovations that you can expect in this space. Welcome back. You're watching Tokenomics, and what we're discussing is about the future of whether it's about cryptos, blockchain, or Web3 for that matter. Nishal, this one is to you. I assume there are a couple of things that the street will want to watch out for, and is the case with regulators as well. One, of course, is the innovation part of it, and other is about protecting customers. Where do you see a fine balance emerging?
I think the whole regulatory aspect, which is working in the right direction in India and the rest of the world, I think that's the direction we should continue. Which is we've started with KYC, AML. We've now started ensuring that businesses are registered with the right authorities. The downside, though, is more on the taxation part. If you look at anyone, there are millions of people in India who are into the crypto ecosystem. And I think there's been a lot of people who have been affected negatively by the TDS, the 1% TDS that we have, or the flat 30% income tax, irrespective of the tax slab that you fall into, or the offset, where you can't offset your losses in one digital asset onto trading on the other one. I think that has to be improved. But otherwise, India is on the right path to regulating crypto, which is a slow and steady move. Because what we've seen is there have been some countries which have gone ahead and implemented frameworks, and then they realize that that is also sort of diminishing the kind of innovation that you can do, because this is an evolving sector. For example, if you had some framework in place in 2017, you would not have included NFTs. And I think that is going to continue increasing. There's going to be new use cases that will emerge. So the best way is, I think, probably the India route, which is go one step at a time, look at what is possible and straightforward to implement, and implement that right away, which I think India has done beautifully. The downside is, the taxation, which I think we should probably look at revisiting and make it easier for people to invest in this asset class.
So two things that keep emerging with our conversations. One, of course, is the regulatory part of it. The second is registration, which needs to be done. And third, of course, is taxation, which needs to be worked upon yet again and brought, of course, down to ensure or let people trade into this asset class as well or invest into this asset class. Kashif, how would you look at 2024? There is one thing that is about the markets looking at institutional interest that we've seen in various other countries. I mean, more and more countries are now getting or coming out with friendlier approach toward this sector. How would you look at Asia overall and India specifically?
So, Manisha, a lot of interesting times we are in. 2024 is going to be massive, especially for crypto. If you see, already the Bitcoin ETF has approved. We have already seen a $4.6 billion US worth of volume for 2 days. In 2 days, 46,000 Bitcoins have been absorbed by these ETF companies. We can also expect that a lot of institutions will start, investing in Bitcoin ETF. As per Standard Chartered, close to $100 billion US can enter into spot Bitcoin ETF. We are also hearing that in future, maybe there are chances that an Ethereum spot ETF can get approval on the similar lines of Bitcoin spot ETF. We have seen that the Bitcoin mining was concentrated earlier with China. And then after Chinese ban, America started dominating the Bitcoin mining. And now we are seeing that UAE, Abu Dhabi, is trying to be the epicenter for Bitcoin mining. We have seen our neighboring country, Bhutan, as the next hub for Bitcoin mining, where the governments are interested in Bitcoin mining. We will also see in 2024 a sovereign bond for the first time will be issued in El Salvador. We will also see, a lot of private entities will enter into issuing stable coin on top of Ethereum. So there are going to be many countries who will issue where the private entities, not the government, because governments are interested in CBDC, but many countries will see that a biggest player of their country will launch a stable coin on top of Ethereum, right? We might also see that, for the interoperability of CBDCs, because the biggest challenge for CBDC is interoperability, how that will work out. We might see that BIS, might use Ethereum for interoperability. Those kind of discussions are on. We might also see in crypto, we will see the scaling solutions will grow massive, like scaling for Bitcoin, scaling for Ethereum, scaling, the layer ones that are highly scalable. We might see that the massive growth in that sector. So I think interesting times, and obviously the regulatory side, because we might see US releasing or passing their first stablecoin bill in US, and probably that will set the tone for other countries to follow.
Oh, that's a long, exhaustive list that you just put out, Kashif, on what all to expect in 2024. Avinash, what is your list comprised of, and is there anything that you're expecting from the Indian budget?
So, first coming to budget, I think obviously we hope that the government will look at the taxation part, 1% TDS specifically, and set-off of losses. I think the current budget will be mostly like a statement of accounts, so I'm not sure it will happen in February. But yeah, that is the expectation from the industry, because what is happening is that because of this taxation, whatever we are expecting in 2024, and Kasif listed a long list, Indians will not be able to participate in that, or it will be very, very restricted for Indians to participate in that innovation, that technology, that bull run. So that is one. Second, I think from a regulation point of view, global regulation, my guess is that 2024-25 will also see lots of lots of progress on the regulation side. On all of it may not be positive, although this is just a cautionary note that although Bitcoin ETF has been approved, but if you see the note or the press release from SEC, they talk about their concerns about Bitcoin, and they say that they don't support Bitcoin. So I think on the regulatory side, there is a long battle to be fought or to be worked on basically. So my guess is that innovations and regulations will, in a way, go together for next 1 or 2 years. I think next 12 to 18 months will be very, very important in terms of how global regulations will shape up for crypto.
All right, never without a note of caution when we talk about this asset class, but that's the case with most asset classes as well. Nishal, this one is to you. So how's Shadium doing, and what's your sense, and what are you looking forward, or what are you planning for 2024?
Yeah, I think I resonate with what Kashif and Avinash spoke about, and the scalability part is where Shadium is focusing on. We're building a blockchain that can scale, because if you look at the crypto ecosystem until now, a lot of the use cases have been all financial, all related to trading, and in such use cases, it's fine if you're making a $10,000 transaction and you're getting you have to pay $10 in fees. But one of the biggest questions that everyone's been asking is, what are the other use cases that blockchain is capable of? And these use cases involve, decentralized games, decentralized social networks, maybe, micropayments. And for all of these, $10 transaction fees or $1 transaction fees will never cut. You will never be able to build products, in these sectors if the fees are high. So that was one of the motivation why we are building Shadium. Because in the case of Shadium, it doesn't matter how many people use it, the fees will always be less than 1 cent or a couple of rupees. And I think if we can get a platform like that, that's when we'll start seeing these new set of use cases, so that we go beyond just being in the financial domain, where we see probably the next big social network emerging from a blockchain in a decentralized manner, or maybe the next big game comes up on a decentralized blockchain. So that's what we are looking at. I would also like to add that, since we are talking about Bitcoin ETFs, the gold ETF, I think, launched somewhere in 2004 in the US. And in 2006, gold did about a 40% uptick. And in 2007, we launched the gold ETF in India. So we sort of missed that uptick. I'm just hoping that maybe, we launch a Bitcoin ETF in India sooner than that, and maybe take advantage of this new asset class, rather than wait too long.
All right. Well, there's a lot of hope and, of course, interest and innovations happening within the space there. But there's a word of caution that I hear from all of you. And as you all said, that the next year, the current year, that is, or the 12 to 18 months are going to be most important when it talks about innovation and regulation on both sides. So we hope that India can basically take lead there. But thank you, gentlemen, so much for joining us here and telling us on what you think of the space in this year 2024. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of Tokenomics. Thank you so much for watching.